Merry Christmas. I am recording this the day after Christmas, so this will probably come out in the next couple days, certainly before the end of the new year. You know, historically, as a side note here, Christmas was celebrated for 12 days, hence the 12 days of Christmas, right? So Christmas Day was like the beginning of the Christmas season. I say historically, I'm not saying for all 2,000 years, but somewhere in there, we celebrated Christmas for 12 days. And so Christmas Day was like the kickoff of the Christmas season, right? And then you would be in feasting and Christmasing for 12 some days. If you read like King Arthur's Legends, it's like that. So clearly the people who recorded it at the time, that's how they did Christmas, right? And people would decorate their trees on Christmas Eve, you know, and then again, you're in the Christmas season, the feasting and the hanging out and the celebrations and the joy. It's kind of a bummer the way we do it, you know, where you have all the lead up, you know, the music is out and the stores are changed and all the lead up is there, and then Christmas Day happens and it's kind of like, and now we're done. You know, it's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a letdown for the biggest lead up of the year. So next year, I might shift to more of a 12-day model. We'll see what happens, but it's still Christmas time because we can say it is. And that's how people historically have celebrated it, and that's how you should celebrate it. Okay, let's start a thing here. You and me. We're going to start a trend. You and me and like the 12 other people who watch this, right? So I've been doing a lot of reflecting the past 2 weeks, and I have been reflecting on this past year, you know, 2025 here as we go into 2026. And I've been thinking a lot about the state of the world. So first off, you might not know this, but I actually wrote a Christmas devotional. It came out sometime over the summer, I think, last year, or maybe in the fall of last year. I don't know. Maybe it was right after Christmas. Point being, just came out semi-recently, and it's called Victory and Conquest. That's the name of my Christmas devotional. And it's nothing super special in the sense that it's a Christmas devotional. It's designed to be read once a day. We start on December 1st. We go to the 25th. And it's a devotional about the Bible and about Jesus and his glory and his victory and his conquest, hence the title. And it's about the coming Savior who wins over his enemies and restores justice. Because I believe in that. I believe in hope. I believe that Jesus will return. And I believe that you should surrender to him now, because there will come a time when it's too late. So I believe all of that. And I wrote that devotional, and it's out there. It's on Amazon. There might be some on my website. You can scoop it at your leisure if you're into that kind of thing, which you should be, because Jesus is king. But anyways, I haven't felt very full of victory lately. You know what I mean? I've been reflecting on this past year of Donald Trump being our president. And it just seems like in the past couple weeks, every day brings some new horrible revelation of the state of the world. I mean, when Trump was elected, I don't know if in my lifetime I was that shocked or impressed. I mean, the first time he got elected was a pretty big deal. And I remember people were panicking and freaking out and like, oh no, you know, the Nazi dictator got elected, and that was really fun. That was a lot of humor. Some pretty famous pictures of people just sobbing, you know. And the second time around, there wasn't as much of that, which is kind of funny. But then he came in and he put all of these apparent reformers in charge of departments, you know, like Pete Hegseth or Kennedy Jr., RFK, you know, and the Hawaiian chick in charge of the intelligence community, whose name I can't remember right now, but you know who I'm talking about. Former Democrat, right? And people that really seemed to, or Kash Patel in charge of the FBI, we'll get to that. And all these people who really seem to want to reform their institutions and would really gut the institutions that were killing us. And he pointed at all these people. He pardoned all the January 6th people immediately. He ended up pardoning Ross Ulbricht, which I don't know where you stand on that. I don't know where I stand on that. But the guy who had a website where you could buy drugs, he was in prison for like longer than people who actually sold drugs, right? And he did all these kind of really bombastic, exciting things, and it seemed like holy shit. Like I think Trump really knows what time it is. I mean, they charged him with all these felonies. They convicted him with felonies. They tried to kill him more than once. They threw everything they could at this guy. And he just didn't stop, right? That picture after Trump gets shot and it grazes his ear of him like standing with the Secret Service agents around him with his fist in the air, yelling fight. That will be in every history book for the rest of your life. I mean, you remember how you felt when this was all happening? I remember. And then Charlie Kirk got shot. And was murdered. And I remember we talked about this if you were here for that one. If not, you can go back and watch that episode. But I said our government has a chance, that limited window opportunity to really enforce justice here. Like this is it. This is their window. And to really crack down on crime. And then nothing happened. Just a day before that, there was the girl who I think was like a Ukraine war refugee. She was on a public subway, bus, I think it was like a subway in North Carolina, and the black guy like stabs her in the neck from behind, just fairly random. It's on video. It's pretty horrific. And that guy's not in prison as of right now. On video, just randomly stabbing this chick and then saying, "I got that white girl." Not in prison. Last I knew. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And those two events in my mind together just really like seared like, hey, are we going to choose to be a serious country or not? Doge, you remember Doge? We're going to get Elon Musk in there. He's a business entrepreneur guy. He's going to work some efficiencies. He's going to cut the chaff. He discovered these billions of dollars of just waste going everywhere. And then, he just got kicked out the door, got in a fight with Trump, got booted, said that we need more H-1B visas. Nothing happened. Meanwhile, you have the Department of Labor and the White House. Who's ever running those Twitter accounts is just, pushing the envelope, which is kind of fun. I mean, it's great. But because it's just all talk with no action, it's actually more demoralizing. Like the Department of Labor is like, American jobs are for Americans. And it's like, that sounds cool. But you're still approving H-1B visas ad infinitum. So are you actually interested in giving American jobs to Americans? Right? So they keep tweeting and saying all these really base things, but then again, there's no action. And I think it was Mr. Fuentes pointed out in some clip that I saw of him recently that it's like once you realize Trump's whole shtick is to say super base things, his word, not mine. I can't say that word out loud seriously. I feel silly. But to say very like hard-lined, patriotic things, and then followed up with like no action. Once you realize that's a shtick, it gets tiresome real quick. I remember listening to that and thinking, Where's the lie? Right? Like I don't know where Mr. Fuentes is incorrect in this assessment. I don't, like, he's right. And that's what Trump does, is he'll say really cool things of like, yes, let's do that. Deport every single illegal immigrant, right? Well, we're just going to start with the super dangerous ones, the ones who commit the violent criminals first. Well, actually, we're just not going to really deport that many of them. Well, actually, if a governor or a mayor of some little city talks about how they're going to resist federal ICE agents from arresting felons, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. We're just going to tweet about it. We're going to tweet about how that's wrong. That's insurrection. That's really evil. They're breaking the law, but no one's going to go to jail. No one's going to get imprisoned. Where are all the rest? Where are the Epstein files, right? Like, you know how this goes, right? We can go on, and you and I can, well, I know that you can talk to me, but I can't hear you. I can rant at you all day about all the many, many failures of delivery, right? Again, Kash Patel was put in charge of the FBI, and the FBI might be worse under Kash Patel than it was under Comey, right? They say, well, Dylan, at least they're not trying to arrest me yet. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. They're really pushing hard to criminalize anti-Semitism, whatever that means. So, it doesn't seem like things are that great. And I am more demoralized now, almost a year later, just under, than I probably was before. It almost makes me wish for the Biden years. Do you remember the Biden years, right? When that brain-dead grapefruit was our president, allegedly, supposedly. Because at least then, like, the Republicans pretended to want to do something. This is just like the first 2 years of Trump presidency, right? The GOP had total control, both houses and the White House, and they got nothing done. They couldn't even repeal Obamacare, which is what we elected them to do back then. And this is just worse. They can't pass a budget. Still, all of Trump's appointees aren't even appointed. I mean, just think about how comically incompetent that is. No, I mean, it's not incompetent. It's malicious. I understand that. John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, is a moron and hates you. But think about that. Like, they own the House and the Senate and the White House, and they still don't have all of Trump's appointments in. What possible excuse? A quarter of the presidency is gone. What possible excuse would you have for that? Obstruction, that's the excuse. But you look at all this stuff, and it just keeps stacking up in the negative column. And you're like, well, what did we vote for? And then Trump has the gall to get up there and talk about how, we don't need to worry about affordability. That's kind of a hoax. The Epstein files are a Democrat hoax. He announced the other day they're going to build 2 new battleships. They're going to be Trump-class battleships. What's a Trump-class battleship? Just got made up. It's named after me, Donald Trump, right? They're going to have lasers. He really said lasers. They're going to be 100 times more powerful than anything that's floated on the sea. It's comical, right? It's like the man is so vain. So vain. And if he thinks it'll make him look good, he's going to do it. You remember the 50-year mortgage thing, right? They floated this idea of 50-year mortgage, and they sold it to him because the Treasury Secretary, or I don't know, some person, whoever, showed him a picture with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, great American president, with a 30-year mortgage, because I guess that came out under Franklin Roosevelt. And then a picture of Trump with the 50-year mortgage, the 30-year mortgage it says here, it says 50-year mortgage here. He showed him this picture, great American presidents. Trump loved it so much he tweeted it out, right? Oh yes, great. I'm like FDR. I'm a great American president. And then of course they just got thrashed, rightly so, for a 50-year mortgage. I mean, what is that? It's like renting. So, like I said, we could talk about this for a long time. But where does that leave us? How do you have joy at Christmas when it seems like the whole world is burning down? We had hope. We had this glimmer of hope. And to have it, and then to have it just ground into powder before your eyes is more demoralizing than just not having had it, I would argue. I mean, at least when Biden was doing everything he could to kill you, you understood that. You know? You're like, well, yeah, I mean, communists are going to communist. Like, of course he wants to kill me and wants to inject a experimental vaccine into my body, and, you know, he wants to have me unemployed, and, you know, they're trying to cut us out of the economy, and like, so that we're not employable, we don't have money, and we starve to death. Like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty par for the course for communism. That's what they do. But to have the guy who's supposed to save you betray you at every conceivable turn, what do you do with that? How are you supposed to have hope after that? Oh, well, you know, Dylan, we can hope in J.D. Vance. He says a lot of base things. He's very cool. He's one of our guys. I don't know, maybe. Well, Dylan, we can't let the Democrats win. You know, we just got to keep voting Republican. Why? Like, why? I straight up told my dad a couple weeks ago, he and I were talking, and I said, Dad, I think I'm just done voting. Like, I'm done voting. He's like, well, you can't do that. And I said, why not? Why not? Literally, what does it get me? I voted for these people. They've given me nothing. Why would I continue to vote for them? Well, you know, we can't let the Democrats win. And I said, why not? What's the difference? My tax dollars are still going to foreign nations, right? I guess we have a semi-secure border, so I guess there's that. The debt is still going through the roof. We're still going to, maybe less illegal immigrants are coming, but we're going to bring over a gazillion legal ones to replace us anyway. So what am I actually getting? How are you supposed to have joy when that's the world you live in? How are you supposed to have joy or hope or happiness or comfort when you're watching your entire nation be destroyed by the people that you voted for to fix it, by the people that you elected, campaigned for, worked for, fought for, defended to help you? How are you supposed to have hope and joy when the very people who are supposed to be leading and shepherding and guiding and protecting your people and your nation are just selling it down the line at every conceivable opportunity? When 50-ish% of your income is given to the government so they can turn around and spend it on your own destruction, where's the joy in that? Where's the hope in that? How are you supposed to be merry at Christmas with that? So that's what I've thought about. And that's what I've thought about. I think there's a couple things. One, you are not, I am not, we are not the first people in human history to live through difficulty. Just not. Suffering has been a constant since the fall of mankind. Since Adam ate the fruit in the garden, suffering has been a constant. That's never changed. Now, there are times of more extreme suffering. There are times of less extreme suffering. I can think of specific acute moments of more suffering, right? Like living under the Janissary Turkish rule in the 1400s would be pretty bad. When they come and kidnap your sons and go away and sexually abuse them and forcibly convert them to Islam and turn them into slave soldiers to come back in 5 or 10 years to do the same to the next generation of sons. I mean, that's pretty horrifying, right? We can think of different times in history when suffering was greater. I don't know if COVID, I mean, it's probably the largest psyop in human history. I don't know if anything quite compares to that. So if you never got the shot, congratulations. Fellow pureblood. And it's just this because you're connected to it all via your phone, right? It's this constant level of anxiety and carrying the weight of the world. That can happen. But it might be different in degree, maybe. Maybe. I think that's arguable, depending on who you were, where you lived, or whatever. But it's not different in kind. Suffering has always been the case. Being alive during the Hun invasions or the Mongolian invasions would have been pretty horrible. Again, under the Mongolians, there's an incredible amount of rape. Unfathomable amounts of rape. And horrible, torturous, horrific executions. That's all pretty bad. That's all pretty bad. So, suffering isn't anything new. How did those people have joy or hope? Well, Dylan, they didn't. You can say that. And I'm sure a lot didn't, for the record. But I think that the suffering isn't... You can't have the victim complex of this is the worst it's ever been. No one knows my pain and suffering. Woe is me, kind of inward-facing victim mentality thing. I mean, you physically can. I'm just telling you that that's not true. That's not true. The second thing, and I think the more important thing, is shifting your perspective. And what I mean is, I very much live my life, or attempt to, with an eternal perspective. What I mean is, I'm going to be alive for another 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe if I'm lucky, 50 years, right? And then that's it. There will come a day when I close my eyes for the last time in this world. That's going to happen. My death is certain. In light of that, how could anyone have any hope? We're all going to die anyway. Right? And so, I try to live my temporal existence remembering that God made man to live forever, and God made man to live forever in his presence with him. That is my ultimate hope. That Jesus Christ will one day, before or after my death, it doesn't matter, return to judge the living and the dead. That he will rule on earth as he does in heaven, and that all sin will be undone, as if it never happened. That all evil will be punished. There will not be a single wrong ever committed in human history ever that will not be punished. It will either be punished on Jesus in his death and resurrection on the cross, or it will be punished on the person who committed the act. No one gets off. No evil goes like I said, unpunished, unvengeanced. I believe in vengeance. I just don't believe it's mine to take. And God will right every wrong. You could say, "Oh, Dylan, it's just that's a nice little fantasy you have there. You just tell yourself that, so you don't have to do anything." Okay, we can have that discussion. I don't think so. And I'll be honest, I don't know how, if you don't believe that, you don't black pill into despair. I mean, what else would you really have? That's a genuine question. If your only hope is in this life, what you can do with the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, knowing that that's it, man, you and I should get a beer sometime, because I feel for you. Like, I just think that is empty, ultimately. And I think you feel it. I think you feel how empty that is. And I want that for you. I want you to have eternal hope. People that have eternal hope are grounded. And there is a irresistible force to their actions, because they know they win. They know they win. I know that we're going to win. Jesus is going to come back. Like, that's certain as the sunrise. Jesus is going to come back. The wrongs will be righted. I feel the pain and the injustice and the anger of it now. I feel the frustration of it now. I feel the difficulty of it now. And I think it is right that I feel those things. I think it is right that you feel those things. When you are struggling to pay money for your house or your food or raise your kids, and you're watching them send billions of your dollars to a foreign nation so they can receive their own kickbacks, and you're angry about that, I think that is right. I think the only people who aren't angry about that are people who aren't paying attention or who are complicit. There's no excuse to not feel angry about that. If you don't feel angry about that, that's a problem. That shows that, again, you're either ignorant or you're evil, or maybe some combination thereof. No excuse. So you should feel angry about that. And you need to remember that they don't get away with it. Nobody gets away with it. No one ever will ever get away with it. Jesus will return. All the wrongs will be righted. The righteous will be vindicated. And that's why I think it's very important that you put your hope, faith, and trust in Jesus right now. Today, while you're watching this video. Dear Jesus, please let me trust you. Please help me follow you. Please help me worship you. Please forgive me of my sin. Please change my life and tell me what to do. And wherever you send me, I will go. And if you want me to go be a missionary in Uganda, then I'm buying a plane ticket tomorrow. You own my life. And from here on out, everything I do will be in subservience to the King. Full stop. If you live that way, you'll have hope. I promise. And I don't believe, by the way, that the spiritual and the physical are separate. Right? I don't believe that, like, we're going to close the door on all the world problems in the world, and we're just going to concentrate on being happy in the Lord and trusting Jesus, and you know, just, I have spiritual joy. My life can be awful physically, but none of that matters. Like some kind of weird Buddhist thing. That's not Christianity. I've been a Christian for over 20 years. And when I became a Christian, that was very much in vogue. Just ignore the world. The world is going to world. The sin is out there. But the church, the people of God, are going to be faithful and devoted to Him. And we're just going to ignore the world falling apart. And I look back on that now, at that generation of elders and leaders and pastors and preachers, and I say, man, you guys did us dirty. I mean, I forgive you, and you're going to be in heaven, and you know, God has used you in amazing ways, and that's great, but man, you screwed me over. You screwed my kids over. You screwed this whole generation of men over. I'm a millennial, you know. So we're on like our third economic recession. You know, just a tough beat, the millennials. Maybe that's me being a victim. I don't know. But I look back on that and I'm like, you guys got us here because you ignored what was going on in front of your face and said, it doesn't matter. We just need to serve the Lord. We just need to worship Jesus and have spiritual joy, and circumstances don't mean anything. And I would say, yeah, well, look where that got us. That's pretty bad, actually. If you would have fought little battles, maybe we wouldn't have to fight big battles now. If you had actually done your job and cared about the destruction of your nation and your people, maybe we wouldn't be here. If you wouldn't have been so excited to just preach the gospel, it doesn't matter who people are, maybe we wouldn't be here. We do need to preach the gospel to people. I do want people to come into the kingdom. God will gather his elect. That's a certainty. That's going to happen. We're full-throated Calvinists over here. So, like, that's yes and amen. But I don't think that these are separate things. I don't think that we just need to ignore things and have joy in God only. I think that your faith and hope and trust and service and subservience to God and his will for your life drives you into action in the world. And maybe that means you need to run for your local county commissioner so that you can secure elections in your county. I don't know. I don't know what that means for you. I don't know what God has for you. But my point being that those things aren't separate. They're not disparate. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'm not sure if I'm using the definition of that word correctly. They're not that. They're deeply intertwined. And that is how I have hope and how I have joy at Christmas. It's not because I ignore the world. I don't plan on going out like that. I plan on going out, being involved in the world. Okay? I spend my life from now until the end being involved. Why? Because I have hope and faith and joy in the King. That's why. That's my motivation. I love my kids. I am excited for them to grow up and have children. I love my country and my people, and I am excited to help them enter an era where they are stable and prosperous and not oppressed and crushed from like every end of the spectrum here. But that's not the ultimate end goal. That's not the supreme motivator. My ultimate motivation goes right through and beyond all of those things. Those are important things. They're just not the most important. And I fear for you if you were to make the second or third or fourth, whatever, however you want to rank these important things, the most important thing. Because I don't think it'll be enough for you. I think if you get everything you ever want and we get through it, and in 20 years you and I are sitting around and we have everything you've wanted, it still won't be enough for you. And you'll feel empty and hopeless. And I don't want that. I want your ultimate hope and joy forever. That's what I want. You and I may or may not live to see the dawning of the new era. I don't know. But because I have the hope, I'm willing to go the distance. I want you to be indestructible. I want you to be an just unstoppable force. I want you to be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Because you know that Christ Jesus has arisen from the dead. And that sin has been conquered. Death will one day be laid low, and we will say, "Oh, death, where is your sting?" Right? I want you to know that. I want you to, not just like intellectually, I want you to like know that in your bones. I want that to be a soul deep truth for you. Because then, or one, it's because it's true. And again, all the joy stuff we just talked about. Okay, so that's most important. Also, Because then you're unstoppable. Unstoppable. People like that aren't people that break or they don't vacillate. They're not filled with substantial doubts. They're people that know what their calling is and their mission is and their joy is. And they're not, this doesn't mean you're outside the range of human emotion. It doesn't mean that every day is the most sunshine and roses day in your life. That's not what it means. It means there's this deep ballast of surety in your life. It doesn't mean that the sea doesn't get stormy, but it means the boat never sinks. You can have that. You can have that right now. You can have that. And I think that when I reflect on the hope and the joy and Christmas is about Jesus. It's not about anything else. It's about the guy who was born, and he was so important and significant because he was God Almighty that we reorganized our entire calendars around him. And now we say it is the year 2025, the year of our Lord, right? And then we say all the time before he was born is before Christ. Well, before the Common Era. Before the Common Era, shut up. Like, first of all, the Common Era of what? It just means the same thing. They just don't want to say Jesus, right? Side note. Some of you, like 5 people, are going to get that reference and joke and understanding of my historical timeline. So if you're one of them, congratulations. That's why I have joy this Christmas. That's why I have hope this Christmas. And that's why I'm going to have hope if I live to see it next Christmas and the one after that. And on we go until Jesus comes back or I die. That's it. You want to know what drives me? You want to know what I think should drive you? Why I do my squats in the squat rack behind me, right? Why I go out and train with my boys? Because I know that the King reigns. I know that hope exists. I know that it's only a passing thing, this shadow. I know that to be a historical, inevitable fact. I know it. And so, while the sea gets stormy, my boat isn't going to sink. Not because I'm so intelligent or I'm so strong or I have it figured out. This isn't about me. This is just about recognizing and living what is observably true in reality. And I will not live outside what I know is true or what is real. I won't do it. And neither should you. Be of good cheer. Jesus has overcome the world. Take heart. Hold your head high. Worship him in his majesty. And remember that you can have hope. And when things feel dark and dismal, it's not because hope isn't real or you can't see it or it doesn't exist. It's just because you forgot that it's there. I hope that you did have a Merry Christmas. I hope that you're having a Merry Christmas season. I hope that you're looking forward to 2026 and the new year. I hope that a year from now, when we have this chat again, you are in a better place, not necessarily because of circumstances in the world, although you and I both hope those get better, but because, again, you have the ballast. You have that bedrock trust in the King of Kings, who rules now and forever. Do brave deeds and endure.